లోక్సభలో జయశంకర్ మాట్లాడుతున్నారు. లైవ్ లో చూద్దాం.
Them to follow embassy advisories and avoid unnecessary movement or shows. Recruitment and shipping companies were asked not to deploy or send Indian seafarers to Iran. Chairman said, reflecting our assessment of the evolving situation, the Indian embassy in Tehran issued an advisory on 14 February urging Indian nationals, including students, pilgrims, business persons and tourists, to leave Iran by all available means of transport, including commercial flights. They were asked to contact the embassy for any assistance and provided with 24/7 helplines. This was again reiterated in very strong terms through another advisory on 23 February. Some heeded these advisories and have left the country. However, many others have disregarded them and remain in Iran. We are also in touch with fishermen who operate out of Iran. This, sir, was the situation till 28 February 2026. Honorable Chairman, sir, once the conflict commenced, the Indian Embassy has facilitated the relocation of several Indian students in Tehran to places outside Tehran. An advisory update with emergency contact helplines was issued on 3 March. Similarly, facilitation was extended to pilgrims who were there in Iran for their internal movement. Indian nationals who were in Iran for business purposes were assisted to cross over to Armenia and to return home. The embassy in Tehran remains fully operational, I should say, in fact, on the highest alert. They are totally committed to supporting the Indian community in this difficult situation and in assisting Indian nationals who may wish to cross international borders. Where seafarers are concerned, the Directorate General of Shipping, through an order on 2nd March, constituted a quick response team for immediate response, coordination and support functions. This will function on a 24/7 basis. Honorable Chairman, sir, I would like to inform you that every Indian embassy in the region has similarly issued advisories. This is so with Israel, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. Many of them did so on the 28th of February. Israel did it again on the 1st of March. Many of them again in the Gulf did it on the 5th of March. Saudi Arabia did it on the 8th of March. So this has been a continuous exercise. The MEA has set up a dedicated special control room to monitor the situation and respond to queries from those affected as well as their families. Our last update was issued on the 7th of March. Chairman, sir, I would like to inform the House through you that our diplomats are working hard to assist standard transit passengers in hubs like Dubai, Doha and Abu Dhabi. They have facilitated international border crossings for Indian nationals, including from UAE to Oman and from Qatar, Kuwait and Bahrain to Saudi Arabia. Wherever there has been a partial opening of airspace, we have approved and undertaken commercial flights, including non-scheduled flights, for the return of Indian passengers. Our estimate is that about 67,000 of our nationals have done so as a result. So, the Ministry of Civil Aviation has also put out figures for the last 3 days. On the 7th of March, there were a total of 51 inbound flights operated by Indian carriers, 49 on the 8th of March, and there are 50 flights planned for the 9th of March. Chairman, sir, throughout this period, government has maintained close contact with relevant countries. Honorable Prime Minister has personally spoken to the President of UAE, the Amir of Qatar, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the Crown Prince of Kuwait, the King of Bahrain, the Sultan of Oman, the King of Jordan, and the Prime Minister of Israel. In each case, we received assurances that the well-being of the Indian community will be the priority for the host government. I have similarly been in close touch with my counterparts in these countries. Insofar as the United States is concerned, we have maintained regular contacts through diplomatic channels. While attempts have been made, contacts with Iran at the leadership level are obviously difficult at this time. I have, however, spoken to Foreign Minister Arakchi on 28th of February and the 5th of March. We will continue these high-level conversations in the coming days. So, the House will also be interested in the issue of an Iranian vessel that is currently docked in Kochi. The Iranian side had requested permission on 28th February for 3 ships in the region to dock at our ports. This was accorded on 1st of March. IRIS Lavan actually docked on 4th March in Kochi. The crew is currently in Indian naval facilities. We believe that this was the right thing to do, and the Iranian foreign minister has expressed his country's thanks for this humane gesture. So, in view of the implications of this conflict for our energy security, I also seek to address that particular concern. Government remains committed to ensuring that fully taking into account availability, costs, and risks of the energy markets. For us, sir, the interest of the Indian consumer has and will always be the overriding priority. Where required, Indian diplomacy has supported the endeavors of our energy enterprises in this volatile situation. Honorable Chairman, sir, let me conclude by highlighting the 3 guiding factors of our approach. 1. India is in favor of peace and urges a return to dialogue and diplomacy. We advocate de-escalation, restraint, and ensuring the safety of civilians. 2. The well-being and security of the Indian community in the region is our overriding priority. We will continue to work with governments of the region towards that end. And 3, our national interest, including energy security and trade flows, will always be paramount. I am confident, sir, that the government has the full support of this august House on this matter. I thank you.
Thank you very much.